Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist, you want to go faster? Then let's giddy up. Hey guys, welcome back to Faster U4. Brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. And soon to be associated with the Great Five Passes tour in the South Island in November 2018. This is a little bit of a special one where we'll have a talk about the Five Passes tour, what it's all about, and some weapons grade Strava stalking on my part to determine how you can approach some of the stages, what you need to win. So we'll go through that. So let's have a look here. The Five Passes tour. So I've got the 2016 booklet here. It's the same course as 2018. I don't think they had it last year because there was the earthquakes. We're back to it this year. Back to it for, I think it'll be about the 17th time they've run it. So one of the things that attracted me to this event was the good word of mouth. Lots of people, every single person I've talked to who has gone down and done this has reported back a couple of things. Two things. They say the course is great, and it's just sort of a part of the world that you might not visit all that often, but if you get an excuse like this, it's totally worth it. And number two, the organisation. I was told accommodation, massage, food, general organisation, jerseys, all that is apparently very good. I don't know, I've never done it, but this is just what I've been told. So on that basis, I made the decision to get myself and a FitLab team together to head down for 2018. So I'm pretty excited about it. So let's work through what this course is, what I think are the key important parts, and we'll see where we go with that. So just to make it clear, FitLab has agreed to support the event this year. A couple of different ways. We will be giving out prizes, and at the prize giving and the last day for things that happen along the way, we'll be providing ex-pro rider and current FitLab coach Scott McDonnell. He will be coming with me. Scott will be riding in one of the C or D grades, something like that, and will be riding along with the riders, and he can be used as a resource to ask any coaching or training related questions you'd like at the time, any coaching or riding tips or anything like that. And the reason we made it Scott instead of me is I have a habit of wildly announcing controversial views on things like Donald Trump on a regular basis, and upsetting everyone in the near vicinity. Scott is sort of like the quiet, calm version of me, and is unlikely to ruffle feathers. He's wildly approachable, calm and collected, and has this depth of cycling knowledge and the kind of the world of pro cycling as well that I don't really have. So come and say hi to Scott. Come and say hi to me. I'll be riding in, I guess, the A or B grade, whatever it is, might be a combined thing, and leading a FitLab team, and we'll be trying to win. That's what we're trying to do. We're going to try to win jerseys. We're going to be taking names. and laying down some firepower for the GC and the other jerseys in the A and B grade. So that's what's going to be going on there. And so that'll be my job. And we will be happy to answer any questions you've got about coaching and training at the time as well. Unless I'm, spewing up my lunch on Arthur's Pass, in which case probably don't talk to me at that point. Every other time's pretty fine. There was a lot of neutral stages. We'll maybe talk about that. This is a bit of an unusual, for me, style of event. So if you don't know, and I'm certainly no expert on it, the idea is that you've got this course. You're looking at the screen. Day 1, Christchurch to Hanmer Springs, is 163 k's. Day 2, Hanmer Springs to Greymouth. Day 3, Greymouth to Arthur's Pass, the famous TT. Stage 4, Arthur's Pass back to Christchurch. There's a big kind of circle over these famous mountain passes in the South Island. Now don't freak out about the distances, because only half of that is really racing. The other half is neutralized parts of the course to get you from A to B. So to show you what I'm talking about, let's have a little look at what day 1, as far as the 2016 schedule, and it should be the same, what it really looks like. So you start out at the hotel, and you've actually got 39 kilometers of neutral, and so you're not really racing. Easy. So you've just covered 40 k's, having a good old chat to me and Scott. Then you've got a part which is 27 k's to a sprint, 6 k's. Then you've got another neutral for 2 k's. Then you've got open zones, 13 k's, 20 k's, and 20 k's. Neutral 30 k's, and then 6 k's to the final. So without doing the math on it, something like half of the day is neutral. So you can have a drink, have food, spin out your legs. So it's kind of like short, sporadic stages. Now, from what I understand, it works really, really well and is a lot of fun. So why don't we actually have a closer look? What might be some crucial parts of this? So as I say, I've had a look here at what is the first KOM. This is on day 1, Weka Pass, so about halfway through this particular day's events. An average grade, we've got 12 Ks, an average grade of 2%, but don't let that fool you, because a lot of it in the first half is pretty flat or even down. The second half looks to average somewhere in the 3 to 6% range, maybe 3 to 4%, so not steep. And just to let you know what you're in for, we've got, if you look at the leaderboard here, it looks like most people at the sharp end covering that in about 20 to 23 minutes, and with powers in the 4.5 to 5 watt per kg range when I did some stalking. So I suspect that will fall over the period of the 4 days, the power targets, or the power, because of course people get tired. So it's KOM1. Things to think about when you're, if you are targeting jerseys and targeting placement overall, is pretty basic. Know where the points are, know where those lines are, and study the course manual. I always have a little pretty anal habit of writing these things down, or even printing them on my stem, and that makes sure that you can compare with your computer distance you've covered, distance till KOM points or whatever it is. Make sure you're properly positioned. I always figure, like, if you're going for preems like this, a preem, if you don't know, it's like a part of a course where you can win points or money, usually a sprint or a KOM. If you're going for preems, I always have this idea that if you miss it or get it wrong you don't do that well because you were outgunned. That is good. That is what you want. What you don't want is to completely forget where the finish line was, or to have a bike malfunction, or any of these sort of 100 things that you can mitigate and should mitigate ahead of time. So if you can put yourself in a position to do the best you can, kind of what you want. From there, it's about what you've got. I'll maybe touch on training for the course in a minute as well. So day 2 is the one, 214 Ks, Hanmer Springs to Greymouth. It's pretty wild, but again, don't panic. A lot of that. 23K section, 2K section, 28.5K section, and a 3K section is neutral. Big KOM on this day is Lewis Pass. So that comes, there's 2. There's Lewis Pass, there's Rahu Saddle. Lewis Pass about a third of the way in. This is a long 9.3 kilometer climb. Again, it says average grade of 2%, but it varies. Total elevation of 210 meters. And again, just under a 20-minute climb, so a little faster, but long. Climb number 2. This is the section I found on Strava. It's called Smiling for Smitty, junction to Rahu Saddle. Again, what are we looking at here? Average grade of 3%, 7.4 Ks, elevation of 250 meters, somewhere between 16 to 18 minutes, likely at the sharp end. So we're talking, so far we've got 3 KOM climbs, all mostly 16 at the fastest, to about 21 or 20 minutes at the slowest or the longest. Those are long climbs, so you're going to have to think about how to actually train for that, because it's not always easy to find climbs that are that long when you're training in other areas. This is, the most mountainous part of the country. So it's worth thinking about that. Day 3, so this is kind of the queen stage, if you like. It has a special sector, which is the individual time trial climb, which is goes to the Arthur's Pass summit. So there's good KOM points on offer here. So this is the segment I found in Strava. 5 passes 2013 Arthur's Pass uphill TT. So we've got 6.25 Ks, average grade, look at this, of 8%, but a middle section there which is getting up to maybe 20% in places. So that is wildly steep and long. You've got a total elevation of 473 meters, close to half a kilometer of climbing. So this is why it's very well known. It does flatten out at the bottom and at the top, but that middle section, you are going to want, at those grades, when you start getting over about 10%, power to weight really comes in. When you think about it, people talk a lot about power to weight for climbing, and that is important, but of course, unless you're talking about a surface, if you were accelerating a mass, it would have to be directly opposite the center of gravity. In other words, think about it on Earth straight up, for it to be, for the speed you move at, aside from other things like wind and that, to wind resistance, to be a pure power to weight equation. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you're a guy who's a bigger unit and you've got good power, but because of your mass, your power to weight suffers, that equation isn't static for you, isn't the same equation for a 2% climb as it is for a 10% climb. It's worse for you the steeper it gets. My point being, the middle section of this, where it does range from 15 to 20%, is gonna be the skinny guy's dream. You might want to think about limiting your losses if you're a big diesel towards the top, the bottom of this course, and understanding what your threshold power is in that middle section, not freaking out, and getting through with some targeting that, sitting on it, and then getting through with some energy for the top, because it's going to be hard. It does level out a bit near the top, but it's hard. Paul Odden has the KOM for this, 2016. Look at this, punching out for just about 20 minutes, 429 watts on average. And I don't know the power to weight, probably just on, I kind of know Paul's mass. It's very similar to me, about 80 kilo guy probably. So just over 5 watts per kilo for close to 20 minutes is excellent. Second has got Steve Flanagan, just over 20 minutes. 3 seconds later, Mike Crawford set a good time in 2016 as well. So obviously wind and things is going to have an effect, but regardless, you're still looking at likely in the red for 20 minutes. See if you can find some climbs around that simulate that. Very few. The only one in Wellington is probably something like Hawkins Hill. And in a way, actually, that might be quite analogous, because if you go from, if you're a Wellingtonian, you'll know what I'm talking about, Happy Valley Road, it's a long 5 to, or maybe 8-9 minute drag from the sea at O'Fero Bay, where we do our FitLab testing. You turn left and you hit a very steep middle section from Brooklyn up to the wind turbine, where that does hit very similar grades for 10 minutes or so. And then the remaining section, that section actually in itself is probably about 20 minutes at that sort of power to weight, and is slightly shorter. It might be about similar. So if you're going to train for this, yeah, thinking about it, that's the closest I can think of. The other option is going somewhere like Rumataka Hill Road. That's probably going to get you similar. It's about 500 from the bottom to the top meters in elevation, Rumataka, from Kaitoki to the summit. And so a very similar climb. Again, probably quite similar in grades, maybe not as steep as Arthur's Pass. So anyway, big day. Make sure you are going to, if you don't understand what your target power is, and you're using power, which I strongly recommend, you could blow pieces on that, lose a lot of time in KOM points, which I'm hoping not to do. And now we've got the final day. It's Arthur's Pass back to Christchurch. You can see half of this is downhill and pretty sweet, and I suspect that's that's a good call after a lot of riding for the previous 3 days. What have we got here? 2 KOMs on offer. I haven't mentioned the sprint points and stuff, but that's not, sprinting is really about positioning, organisation, and having the power. There's not so much analysis to do. On this final day, we've got, what have we got? I may not have covered these ones in a lot of detail. Oh, that's right, there's some smaller climbs too. Is it Craigieburn Cutting and Porter's Pass? That's the final. They both look like somewhere in the region of maybe 5 to 10 minute climbs, so much smaller. They could be really well thought out because people get tired late in the stage race and points can be tight. So that will be interesting. That's a day of 130 Ks, but a lot of neutral. 11 Ks at the start, 19 Ks in the middle, 25 Ks at the end. Finishing with a team time trial of 21 Ks. So, that'll be very important for team points because if you've got guys who have managed to conserve just a little bit, can really honk on that final team time trial. I understand that that's really important in this race. So if you go down, I suspect they will update in good time what's going on with the details of prize giving and dates and all that, but I suspect the course itself, stuff I've talked about today, will be much the same. Yeah, one thing that stood out when I read the handbook, and I don't know if it's still the same, presumably it is, so there's going to be some shared accommodation along the way. Now guys, 2 rules. No farting, and this next one's something you can't really control so much, but snoring. They didn't mention the farting so much, I just mentioned that now, but in the handbook they do mention snoring. Might take some earplugs or something like that, on the basis that that can happen, so my wife tells me. Alright, so there's some pretty pictures of all the guys who organise it, and that's a little rundown of looking ahead at the race. So I will be doing some more analysis about this to understand what my target power is going to be. I'm going to do some testing on myself, find out where my lactate threshold is, so I can sit there like a little dancing robot, path is pass, hoping to beat 5 watts per kilo up there myself. We will see about that. Something that's helping with that is my diet lately. I've switched out quite a lot of carbohydrate and sugar for quite a lot more fat and protein. Satiety, fewer calories overall, getting a little leaner, about 1 kilo lighter, maybe 1.5 compared to last year this time, and numbers are looking good. So I will be headed with a couple of guys up to the tour of Taranaki this weekend. I suspect entries might be closed, but I don't know if the fields are full. So if you feel like it, we'll head out this weekend around the mountain area. I can strongly recommend Tour of Taranaki. Widely varied courses, a lot of fun, good organisation, and the weather can be a mixed bag. It can be, you can get a bit of everything, so take warm stuff. And I'll leave you with this, hopefully bringing along my 2018-2019 race bike. I have a new updated race bike out. I've been riding for the last 2 seasons a Cannondale Super 6 Evo. I will be upgrading to a brand new something which I will unveil later, but it's let's give you a couple of clues. New Zealand company. These bikes are very new, but here's one that'll give it away. It has an old pedigree, but they're brand new bikes. New Zealand company, 2 versions of this bike. One starts with a T, one starts with an R. I'm getting the one that starts with the R. The one that starts with the R is a aero-optimized bike. This bike's been tested in the University of Auckland wind tunnel. There you go. If you Google all of that, you'll probably find what I'm talking about. To make sure that it's as slippery as possible at all your angles. Your angles is the direction the wind hits you. And of course, that's controlled by vectors from your speed and of course the velocity of the wind and the angle of the wind. And so it's not necessarily useful to have a bike that's really slippery fast straight ahead if in a crosswind it's slow. These guys have optimized that. I'm excited about it. Capital Cycles is building that up for me this week. I should have that with me at Taranaki. Come see me. And have a little fossick. I'll be excited about that. Alright guys, as always, it's brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa, Capital Cycles. If you would like a coaching plan from me, you can go to fitlab.co.nz or email me, steve@fitlab.co.nz. I will see you on the weekend.